Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Early Bird. And my goodness, you guys seen what happened yesterday. Let's get into this, talk about it, try to make sense of it. As I wasn't. Anyway, let's just get into the numbers and everything. We'll talk about this after. Here we go. Panthers stun Bruins in Game 7 in overtime, win Eastern first round series. As we see, the Florida Panthers stunned the Boston Bruins on their home ice, Game 7 in overtime. Let's look at the numbers. The Bruins outshoot the Panthers 36-31. They have the edge in faceoffs also 57% to 43, and they had on the power play as well. They were 2 for 4, and the Panthers were 1 for 3. The Panthers had the edge in hits 35-34. 12 blocks for the Panthers, 15 for the Bruins. The Panthers had 9 giveaways. The Bruins had 18. Shots on goal. First period, 11-9 Florida. Second period, 13-5 Boston. And third period, 10-9 Florida. And in the overtimes, 5 apiece for that 36-31 final. Scoring. Montour scores at the 12:23 mark from Lundell and Bobrovsky, 1-0 Florida. On the power play after 1. We go into the second. Sam Reinhart continues his good play as well from Luostarinen and Lundell at the 1:14 mark, 2-0 Florida. And you can sense this might happen. It just might happen. And then Krejci replies to Morlov and Zacha at 7:52. We have a 2-1 Florida lead after 2 periods, and that also was on the power play, that Boston goal. Here we go to the third. Tyler Bertuzzi ties it up on the power play at the 55-second mark, 2-2. So at this point, the Bruins have just cashed in on their special teams, no even strength goal, till Pasternak scores from Carlo and Krejci at the 4:11 mark. It will be their only even strength goal all game, but the Bruins hold a 3-2 lead going into the final minute. As you see, Montour with the goal at the 19-minute mark. From Barkov and Verhaeghe, forcing overtime. We got an overtime for the ages as Verhaeghe scores the big one from Bennett and Tkachuk. Tkachuk screening the goalie at 8:35 into overtime. Now, can we put to rest finally that this is the greatest regular season team ever? Because they're not. The Montreal Canadiens in 1977. For you folks that didn't see them play, please don't even respond. We're the greatest team ever, really. It ticks me off that the kids today think these things. They didn't see these teams play. This team was the most dominant team, I will say, since that team. But is this team in even the same light as the Habs team in 77? Not even close. Not even close, and this is proof. You got your proof here, Boston, really. And the problem was, when you start banking on winning the Stanley Cup, no team is larger than the league. And this is a good lesson for humility for a lot of Boston fans. The egotistical ones, not the logical Boston fans, not those. Those, they do have, like any fan base, have logical fans. But you guys seen the treads online, they're just assuming they got the cup in the bag, the Boston fans this year. And that's a good lesson to learn. Good lesson to learn. We'll say this, that when they stopped Tkachuk in that overtime, I thought maybe Boston were going to pull it out, because when Tkachuk misses a breakaway, I'm like, But Boston in that overtime, I don't care what the shots say, it was all Florida. Florida dominated that overtime. The Bruins had 5 giveaways in that overtime. They just didn't have it. They just didn't have it, really. And I think they waited too long to really change their goalie. I think they did. But the truth is, he looked human too, Swayman, in this game. So goaltending did them in. That's what did them in, and that's what Bruins fans were banking on having, I think, in the playoffs going into that final few games. I'm sure they didn't expect to lose 3 in a row to the Panthers, 2 on their home ice, because their goaltending failed them. It's a strange game, folks. It just is. All right, let's look at the other big upset. Kraken hold off Avalanche in Game 7, win Western first round series. They become the first team in NHL history to win their first playoff series they ever played. 2-1 Seattle over Colorado. Let's look at the numbers. The Avalanche outshoot them 34-27. They have the edge in faceoffs also 58% to 42. No power plays for the Kraken. The Avalanche were 1 for 1. The Kraken doubled them in hits, and I believe that's what did in the Avalanche eventually. They just weren't physical enough in this series. The Kraken out-hit them 46-23. And the blocks, they had 29 because they were under siege a lot early, and the Avalanche only had 11. 7 giveaways for the Kraken, 11 for the Avalanche. The shots on goal, 16-6 in the first period, Colorado. 12-11 second period for Colorado. 10-6. Seattle took over that game in the third, like the shots indicate, but the final shots still were 34-27. Scoring? Bjorkstrand from Gord and Larson open it up, 1-0 Seattle. Early in the second at 3:24. A few minutes later, Bjorkstrand again from Toivonen and Gord at 7:22. And that's all the scoring they would need. You wouldn't think so, but yeah, that's all the scoring they would need. And then Rantanen with a late one in the last minute on the power play for McKinnon and Tays. And the third period, no scoring. That's as close as the Avs would come, which is a shocker. Guys, this is with the two teams I picked to make the finals this year. Remember my picks? Anybody that remembers? Like, this is a crazy era we're in. This is the era where, no, there's not such a thing as a President's Trophy curse. No, there's, maybe if you look at a longevity thing, like maybe the Maple Leafs 19 years, I wouldn't say that's a curse. If you want to ask me why they're cursed, go back to the 80s and see what happened there. That's where I would say, okay, you want to say there's a curse? Then I'll give you a reason why. Go back and see what happened there in the early 80s in Toronto. There is a lot of things that come into play here when it comes to these upsets, okay? Parity in the league. Good goaltending. Everybody has a good goalie, it seems like. Everybody. So there's no team in this league that can't be beaten just from goaltending alone. I mean, if we want to go that route. Do I believe in any these curses? No. Then why did Chicago win the cup if there's a curse? Tell me. No. Like Chicago, with all the crap that was going on in Chicago, why wouldn't they be cursed then? Right? If Chicago had all this rape crap happening over in Chicago at the time, why would they not be cursed then in the first round? Come on. Like, no. It's just that there's so much parity in the league that you can beat one team. It's like Toronto, okay? They slayed the dragon with Tampa, and if Toronto go and lose 4-1 in this series, are you really going to be that surprised? Toronto fans are already assuming they got the series won, which is a boneheaded, dumb way to think, Toronto fans. No. This is going to be a hard series. They just beat the Bruins, not the Tampa Bay Lightning, who were kind of a shadow of what they once was, really. They went, even going into this year, the way they closed the season out, they closed weak. They didn't look good down the stretch. You guys know it. But this Florida team, they're the ones who slayed the giant. They're the ones. So that's the team to look out for in my books. It's going to be very hard for Toronto to get past this team. Very hard. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I will have to look at, we got to see what happens tonight, though. I want to see who wins with the Rangers and Devils game. So we'll just see and take it from there. Have a little fun with the predictions in the second round, and we'll go from there, guys. But am I shocked the Bruins lost Game 7? No, not after what I seen in Games 5 and 6. No, not at all. No, once they had them into a 3-period situation, not a 7-game situation, you got that team down into one game, that core's old. They can be beaten. That core is old. They're beaten up. They're older. They are. And I never trusted their goaltending, except Swayman. And I think they should have started Swayman in the series. Forget in Game 7. They should have. They just threw him in cold. And it's not 100% on Swayman's what I'm saying. So their goaltending let them down in Boston. And the truth is, so did their leadership to some degree. Really. I mean, when you look at this team, when they brought back Bergeron, maybe they brought him back too soon, guys, because he was pretty much a liability on the ice for them the last 3 games since he came back, and they lost all 3 of them. So, not saying it's Bergeron. He's a Hall of Famer and everything, yes. But in this series and in those 3 games, it would have been better if they didn't mess around with the chemistry and just closed out the series. That's my thoughts there. All right, and we shall see what happens in Colorado, because they got no excuses over there. Their guns were playing. I know Landeskog's out, but come on. You know, they're deep enough, that team. All right, I'll see you folks in the next one.